Hi, thank you for joining me. This is Tier 2 Descent Through the Mirror, Key 11, Veil Integrity. Veil Integrity Test Threshold Bleed Through by Jason Gray. Current date 3/25/2026, 6026 Analucis. Transmission date 5/18/2025, 6025 Analucis. Current time 7:41 GMT -6. Transmission time 3:41 GMT -6. Transmission location, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. 11.0.infinity.222.404.13.11 11001100110011001100. There is a point in the descent where the system no longer appears singular, not broken, not collapsing, layered, the first flicker. At first it is subtle, a moment that feels slightly off, a place that feels both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time, a conversation that seems to echo before it happens, a face that feels like it belongs to more than one version of reality. You dismiss it, you rationalize it, you move past it because the system depends on continuity, and continuity depends on ignoring what does not fit. The veil. The veil was never a wall, it was never a barrier, it was a stabilizer, a rendering constraint that ensured only one version of reality remained dominant at any given moment, not to deceive, to maintain coherence. The line. Veil integrity, test, threshold, bleed through. This is where the system begins to evaluate itself, not through external force, but through internal pressure. What is bleed through? Bleed through is not hallucination, it is not imagination, it is not error, it is not overlap. It is the moment when multiple layers of the same underlying field begin to register simultaneously within awareness. Not fully, not stably, but enough to be noticed. The shimmer. You begin to see it, not with your eyes alone, with perception itself, edges that do not hold perfectly, light that feels deeper than light, movement that carries after an image not tied to time, moments that feel like they are happening twice or in two slightly different ways at the same time. Why it happens. Because the veil is not absolute, it is adaptive. It holds as long as identification with a single layer remains stable. Once the system has passed through identity collapse, host inversion, loop recognition, signal detection, firewall breach, null point access, archetype collapse, inward exit, and source recognition, the integrity of a single layer experience can no longer be fully maintained. The test. This is not failure, this is a test. Not imposed from outside, emerging from within the system itself. What is being tested? Not your sanity, not your perception, your stability without singular reference, the old condition. Previously, reality required one world, one timeline, one identity, and one consistent frame. Anything that broke this was rejected immediately, filtered, corrected, suppressed, the new condition. Now the system allows dual perception, overlapping patterns, simultaneous truths, and mirrored structures, not permanently, not yet, but intermittently, just enough to see. The feeling. It does not feel like clarity. At first it feels like disorientation, like something is slightly out of alignment, like the world is still there but not as solid, not as singular, not as fixed. The mistake. The system will try to collapse back. It will say, this is not real, this is confusion, this is imagination, something is wrong. This is the final defense of singular reality. The correction, nothing is wrong. The veil is shimmering, what you are seeing. Not two different worlds, the same world at two different levels of resolution, the mirror layer. The mirror you turned inward in Key 9 is now reflecting outward, but differently. It no longer shows only the internal field. It begins to reveal the multi-layered nature of what you thought was external. Both worlds. This is the moment the statement becomes literal. You see both worlds. What that means. You see the surface layer of form and the underlying field generating it at the same time. Examples. A place looks normal but carries an impossible depth behind it. A person speaks, but you feel the pattern behind the words more strongly than the words themselves. An event happens, but you sense the structure organizing it as clearly as the event itself. The overlay. Reality becomes semi-transparent, not visually in a dramatic way, structurally. You begin to sense the architecture behind appearance, the danger. The system can destabilize here if misinterpreted. If you try to force it, control it, hold it, explain it too quickly, you collapse the perception back into singular form. The requirement: no forcing, no grasping, no labeling, just observation. Veil integrity. The veil is not fully gone. It is being tested, flexed, stressed, evaluated. Why you can see it. Because you are no longer dependent on the veil to define reality. The stability point. The goal is not to destroy the veil. The goal is to remain stable while it becomes permeable. The new perception. You begin to move through the world without needing it to be singular, without needing it to be fixed, without needing it to be the only one thing. The final shift. Reality is no longer either or. It becomes both and. The final line. The veil shimmers. You see both worlds. Veil integrity, test, threshold, bleed through. You are not losing reality. You are seeing more of it than the system was designed to show at once. Jason Gray. Okay. I have seen the veil bleed through. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's almost like looking at, it happened when I was outside, and it was like I could see what was in front of me, but at the same time, I could see like almost light shimmering through what I was looking at. I've seen it several times. It's really interesting to see. So that's I enjoyed reading this and figuring out kind of what it was and why that's happening. So very cool. All right, I will put the links in the description. Thank you for joining me.